Ma ja tier ma kwe ting twen wani me ja ja ma ngon rom le ma ga ja ja dan dia ne ke na ga dia la ne kwe o ja dan di mriar nong bor pia de mara gon ma ute riar kwe jorok ma kwen di dia ji wong nya e tai gal wani mriar dong wala kin wa gang dia du no ga nong mriar joro dia bu nong ke dang a che kor tong ma kwe nong de pia de mo nong bu magang dia cha nong nyai jali jaga ga bi chen ya na pere cha we mor oi da pe mangara oi tok maria ra yen ko ni woti anju lo idan dia ne ke ni joga wai ane kwe o ma jog dien to log nong ai nong de pia de mo nong bu magang dia cha nong nyai joli jaga ga bi chen ya na pere cha we mor oi da pe mangara oi tok maria ra yen ko ni woti.
Hello and welcome to Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building the new nation. I am Mading Ngor. This week on Fixing South Sudan, a dialogue with the host community and cattle keepers in Aru Junction. We just spoke to the chiefs and the leaders of Lulubo community, and they have raised several issues. And right now, we speak with some cattle keepers from Jonglei State. They are no ordinary cattle keepers. They are degree holders, and it's my pleasure to welcome them to this program. Let me begin here on my left to welcome you to the program, Fixing South Sudan. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the program. Can you introduce yourself and maybe where your cattle are here around Aru Junction?
I would like to register my appreciation to the Dolco Media House. I'm called Mariar Kola Guto. I'm from Jonglei State, and my cattle are in Central Equatoria, especially in the Lulubo community.
Tell me how long you have been keeping your cattle around Aru Junction, and then we can talk about some of the issues that are prevailing.
Briefly, I have 3 years since I came from the other part of Lebanon, especially in southern Bari. So I have three years in this place.
And where are your cattle?
My cattle are in the place not very far from where we are doing this interview, but because of the logistics, and that's why we had never made it to my place. They are in Nyolo area.
There are many issues that are being talked about, many problems rather, between the host communities in Equatoria and also the cattle rearing people of Jonglei. We went to the cattle camp, one of the cattle posts belonging to the Dinka cattle headers, and they have raised their concerns about what are the push-pull factors that brought them to Central Equatoria State. One of the reasons is the insecurity, perennial insecurity in the place. The other one is a disease that is killing some of the cows, and that's one of the reasons why they have been here. Whereas the host community, in this case, Lulubo, they have talked about the fact that their children are being abducted, because those who are abducting children are also stealing cattle, and those who are looking after the cattle are the one doing that. One, their farms are being destroyed, and there's a huge gap. What would you say is your relationship to the host community, and what do you think about some of the issues?
To reiterate on that, I think it is very important to highlight or to mention the fact that the relationship between the cattle keepers and the farmers, or on the host communities, everybody has a reason to complain, because child abduction is something that has been talked about, and the issue of the cattle is also going into people's farms. And in a nutshell, I would not say that the owner of the land is wrong to mention the issues, but how true and how credible those issues are, it has to be talked about. Because if you just say that the children are being abducted, okay, that is land grabbing, and there are always issues, especially in coexistence and when in people interactions. And so I would not say that the Lulubo and or other, especially to mention the Bari and the Mondari and especially the cattle keepers, and time is changing and the world is changing. So sometimes during the war there were places that were not known by the cattle keepers, but they came, and especially the issue of the floods and the diseases, and those are the push factors that maybe make some other people to come into. So they don't come here as, or I would say I'm not here maybe to grab somebody's land or to, but I would rather call the owner of the land that is my, like any other business that is being conducted here, especially in a junction.
Let's talk specifically about your case. What are the reasons that make you to come here with your cattle?
The reasons are very various, and to mention the few, my family has actually moved into the town, and I'm working, or maybe my working station is in Juba. So I made it actually with the local people, and so I'm registered and I'm here officially. And if there's anything that maybe my cattle have done, then I'm here to answer it. So the reasons are various. One is the insecurity, as has been mentioned, the issue of the floods maybe, and plus other things, especially if you are working and you need to have maybe your animals around you so that you can also access them and you supervise.
Thank you. Let me bring you in here. You introduce yourself, and then we'll talk about your specific case.
Thank you very much. My name is
Microphone.
My name is Majela Nyang Kwan. I'm from my cousin to Marial, and I moved here to where we have. Actually, my cattle come in, not specifically in the Luber area. They were here, but a few months ago we moved a bit south to an area of Mading land. So I'm going to speak today because the issues are similar. The issues in the Lubo area, in Chole area, in Mondar area, in Madi area, the same issues. So whatever issue arise from in this area, the same issues are similar, like I said.
What are the issues then?
I will start by saying the issues between cattle keepers and the host community normally is that the cows or the cattle get into farming areas. So that's number one issue. The new issue that just arises, that the community we bring in, because we are moving capital, and there are people who want to take cattle, and they want to come to cattle. When they come, they want to take the cows also. They'll take children. That issue is new. To me, I think it's new. But specifically, the biggest problem that I have heard about and witnessed, because we cannot simply brush it away aside that the issue doesn't come. Because when we came here during cultivating areas periods, our cows maybe they will move about and they will get into the farming lands of the host community. We try our best. So when the rain begins, we move away, very far away from the grazing, from the farming area. So, but when it's dry, we'll come closer to the communities. So the real issue is farming versus cattle. That's the issue that I know that we have evidence of them happen. And as communities, we have always sat down together because we have mutual interest among each other. When we have our cattle, we'll sell our milk to the host communities, and our people will buy, will buy grains, maize, sorghum will buy from them. So it's like a symbiotic relationship between cattle keepers and the host community.
You get me a bit of your profile about who you are and where you went to school.
Well, like I say, my name is Majera Nyang. I went to the United States. I went to the U.S. in 2001 as one of the lost boys. I went to New York. I studied geology, and I moved back to South Sudan in 2007. I've been working since 2007 with Nile Petroleum. They always send me to operating companies. I work with at the beginning I worked with Nile Pet, White Nile in Jungle area. After that I moved to Ascom, and then I moved to Total. So all these companies are not existing in South Sudan anymore. So because of the war, the oil companies plus Corona, they are not operating right now. So I have my cattle in Jongule. So I came later on than Marial. I came later on. My cattle came here in 2017. Actually, towards the end of 2018. My reason of moving here are not the same, like Marial said. Marial came because he works in Juba and he has his cow, so he wanted to keep them near to him. So he registered his ranch actually with the Central Equatoria, and that's how he came. Me, I came later on because of the insecurity. That's how we moved from Jonglei to the Equatorial region. I'm not keeping my own cattle. I have a cousin who takes care of cattle, so I come to supervise. Marial, on the other side, on the other hand, is taking care of his cows directly. So he comes to here and he stay here and he goes back to work in Juba. But me, somebody I come and visit. So
as you are familiar, there is a big gap between the local community or the host communities and the cattle keepers. How do we bridge those gaps as someone who is enlightened?
I'm very happy. Thank you for asking that question. To the people who are watching this program, number one, we want to teach our own community. We, the cattle keepers, who come to the Equatorial line, we want to let our people know. Because one thing that education is very important is that we know the rights of others. Yeah? We have communities who come from Jamule, come to Equatorial land. We want to build a bridge between the host community and the cattle keepers. How do we do that? We have to start by dialogue. We have to sit down with them. This is not the first time our people came to look for grazing land. In the past, as I'm from Anyede, we don't have a wetland. We don't have what is called touch. So in the past, our people, during the rain, we move back to Bor. But before the rain stopped, like in September, we will come to Mundere land to look for greener pastures during the dry season. So what will our chief, our elders, what they did, they will send some people in advance. Yeah? What they do, they come and sit down with the communities. They will come with some bulls. Yeah? They sit down with the elders of the Mundere. They will bring bulls. This bull is not a bribe, you know. It's just a start of communicating with the other communities. When our cattle comes, we do a big fence around the cattle, around the farms of the host community in Mundere especially. The young people will come. They will cut I don't know how to say it in English, but it's the thorn like the fence, made with material, local material. They'll put a fence around.
That needs to be done here.
Yes.
In this case.
Yes. So
let me get to Marial, because I like to hear, as one of the enlightened people, what steps have you taken to narrow the gap between the host communities where you have been and the cattle keepers, of which you are one of them?
Thank you for asking that question. I had always been in the forefront, especially in 2012 when I was in Southern Barrier. I had always been engaging with them. And as the English say, that one hand cannot clap itself, because the average person or the illiteracy rate in this country is also a factor to be considered. You will find a Dinka who doesn't know English or any other, so communication sometimes is also one of the, and it is not upon me. That's why maybe I recognize Major by saying that we need to enlighten our people. And enlightenment means education. And if people are educated, you will find somebody who is just walking into your house and he doesn't know how to greet. So you will assume, and greeting, especially in the first place, is always the key. And that is what I've been doing, especially here in Lulubo area. Like as you have just spoken with this chief, I'm engaging with them. I know the areas, I know their homes, and it helps. But on the other part, also the cattle keepers, they also have their own, even how to. So it's like a double strategy, because you talk to your people that things should not be done like this, then they will think otherwise. And then the host community also, they have their own grievances towards the migrants or the cattle owners.
Can you speak to the grievances of the local community? For instance, the paramount chief of Lulubo raised the issue of his farm, of which it has been partially raised down by some cattle. Is that something you can confirm?
It's a very big concern, because especially, you know, they always mention it, and I had always been hearing it, and that's why I'm interested, maybe especially to the viewers of this program. There's always been a charge that, because we had laid down rules, as it had been mentioned, that if a cattle has they have eaten the farm or the plantation, then the agriculture person or the estimate has to be done, and then it has to be paid in kind. If you see that it is consuming maybe all your animals, you will move away. And then if you also kill somebody's cow, so sometimes it also has the rule of law somehow. So I would not say that that the animals, I had witnessed that, plus other things.
You have witnessed that some of the crops have been destroyed.
Absolutely.
By the cattle.
Exactly.
And then, do you think it would be helpful to have cattle camp associations that engage and then enforce the penalties for anyone who violate, or any cows? If your cows violate the rules, then you are fined. Is that something that can be of help?
And that's why I had mentioned before that the rule of law and the enforcement is paramount in this case, because nobody is above the law. If you have done this, because sometimes you will see a person is left, with nothing, because that is the survival, and it's a matter of survival and a livelihood. So if you deprive me for that, then you have also to compensate. And then the issue of ignorance, as I had mentioned it before, maybe a cattle owner will just only see that maybe this is just a grazing land, and not knowing that this is somebody's livelihood.
What would it take for you personally to return your cattle to Jonglei? There has been these outstanding orders for cattle to be returned to Jonglei because of the uproar, and it's not being implemented. Why? What are the reasons that are keeping you here, and what will it take for you to go back with your cattle?
As I have mentioned before, that the rule of law and the judiciary system that is in place is paramount in this case. Like I had mentioned that before, that I have registered my ranch with the Ministry of Legal Affairs and Constitutional Development, and then with the local communities. There are various reasons as to why people come here. Many decrees had been issued, and people had always resisted that. And sometimes it's very difficult, especially if you see your fellow person has a problem, especially the floods. These floods now, it has moved almost the entire Dinkabur and the Nuer and the Upper Nile region to Mangala. You cannot, because we are there for one another and for each other. So it's not a question of, I can also have other options, because if my animals are my problems, I can see other ways on how to dispose them or engage in other. But a person who has not gone to school, or a person who has no any other knowledge on how to make charcoal or cultivate, or it will be very difficult for. So in my case, I'm not resisting anything, because it's easier for me to convert them into something else.
And so what do we do with the others? Do we say we address some of the underlying problems for them to return? Or do you say maybe it's about improving the relations with the local communities?
Time changes and circumstances sometimes. There are things that are beyond human control. Like the issue of floods, and nobody had ever envisaged or had known that flood is going to come like this. So it is very difficult. The first things and the important thing is to improve the relations. But improving the relationship also means, okay, if I stay here, because Equatorial region has vast cattle of the Dinka, and it is, I would not say that because I'm here in Lulubu area and I know the chiefs, and then I will not know what is happening on the other side of the other sides of Equatorial region. Like especially you go into Numili, the problems are very varied, and also you go to Kuku, and so we can address them, but that is a short-term solution. The long-term one should be the legal aspect part of it, that it has to be emphasized, that the government and other stakeholders, if we can have things like especially the anti-stock theft unit, because the cattle owners also complained of the cattle getting lost, or the shapes and the what and what and what. So it is a very, very complex that needs everybody's attention.
Let me loop you in here. The debate around cattle in Equatoria has been highly politicized, and how do we normalize it so that it boils down to a question of improving relations and then maybe enhancing understanding?
Thank you. The local people and the host community, the cattle keepers and the host community. I said earlier, communication. Communication is the base for this coexistence to continue. We'll have to teach our people how to communicate. We'll teach our people how to recognize that the host community are people like them, and the host community must also accept the migrating community as brothers. You know. So when we sit down, and this one has to continue, and it has not to be only one cattle camp. It has to be every cattle camp and every community that's hosting these cattle. They have to sit down, and we have to initiate it, because we are the people coming into this community. We have to initiate the communication. How do we do that? When we first come into that community, we have to meet with the chiefs, that we have come, because they will see us and they will know we are here, that we have come, and we will get to know each other. You know, if the head of the cattle camp sit down, the paramount chief or the local chief, and know each other, meet each other, the chief will go back and talk to the people. Start that friendship, you know, communication. I go back to cattle camp. This is how you treat these people. These people will begin to know each other. When they know each other, you know, it's like me and Marial. When we were born, we didn't know each other, but we know each other now. There are things that we cannot disagree on. We cannot fight anymore, because we have known each other for a long time. Let's get to know each other, the local community and the migrating community. Let's get to know each other.
And what is your message to the government? Because many of the issues being raised are supposed to be addressed by law enforcement agencies?
Well, first of all, the reason we moved here, I would say number one is security. Yeah? Number two is especially people in the southern part of the world. They don't have grazing areas. Yeah? So this is not the first time we moved here. There are things the government can fix, there are things the government cannot fix. Yeah? At the end of the day, there has to be people who are migrating to the country to recognize where they are going to begin with. But the security situation in South Sudan is the same everywhere. And if you have cattle camps in Anyidi right now, we know the insecurity plus the invading neighbors, So it is very hard for me to say this is what government can say. What I'm talking about now is because we are where we are, we have to fix the problem where we are. So we are here in Lulubo, we are in Madi area, we have to fix those problems here. And the issues of going back, we have the floods, we have the lack of pasture lands. So the flood will go, but maybe insecurity will not go. So if the government fix the insecurity, then maybe some of us will go back. Those who have the wetland, who can take during the dry season, can take them, they will go back. But those who don't have, they will still come to this community because they were here before.